Okay, I think we are live. Hello to anybody watching. It's just Amy and myself at the moment. Hopefully Eleanor and Chris will be able to join us a bit later. So Amy, hi, how are you?
A bit tired. Been a rough few days, pain-wise, and appointments today. So combinations caught up with me a bit, but otherwise plodding along mostly. And
hopefully you'll be able to stay awake for a little bit longer. So that
I crashed at lunchtime, so I hope so.
To be honest, actually, I think I've actually slept all day. I woke up again at about 4 o'clock. I thought, oh God, I've got to get on. But then again, I'm not sleeping at night. I'm going on sort of a lot of friends' live streams because it's the sort of thing that, distresses me a bit. But I'm on it all night and then go to sleep about 4 o'clock in the morning and then up at 6 or 7. So it's no wonder I fall asleep, really. I can't blame anything other than myself for that. So I'm just going to move on to comments there, just in case anybody wants to put a comment on about anything that we talk about.
Okay.
So what's been going on with you anyway, Amy? What's been happening? Because we haven't actually had a live stream since before Christmas, because I think after my birthday I got a bit sort of down in the dumps at turning 50 and thought, that's it, I'm just going to be grumpy now, and everything was sort of stressing me out. So doing YouTube videos and live streams was just a bit too much energy for me. So,
but it's the fact that you've noticed that as well, and that's really important, because with our conditions, if we don't notice, then we don't mean to, but we can end up worsening it. So if we can find a positive here, that's definitely a massive one from that. But with me, it's just at the moment it's the usual stressors, certain people behind the scenes causing them, mostly. Not so much those in my life. They're mostly okay, but usual couple things of, can you please put your socks in the wash bin rather than on the floor, that sort of thing. And then in comparison, you kind of listen to the things everyone else is arguing about, and you're like, okay, actually that's not that bad. So I can't moan. I'm quite chuffed with the fact that it's not that bad.
Yeah, actually, to be fair, my let me just say hello to some people. Hello, Cement Shoes. It's so fantastic to see you. Hi, Patty. Thank you so much for that comment earlier. Do you know what? It really did actually boost my confidence. I sent Patty a message saying I was nervous about today, and she just sent me just a little message saying, she enjoys our live stream. So that really was good. Hi, Warvo. Nice to see you. Hey. So we're just, for those of you that have just come in, we're just sort of having a quick chat now, really, about what's been going on, because we haven't done a live stream for about 3 or 4 months now. So we're just having a bit of a catch up. Sorry to interrupt you there, Amy. Carry on.
No, it's fine. Absolutely. We should be saying hi to everyone, because without them, we'd be sort of just here and ramble and hope that it helps someone or is of some benefit, and you never know.
Yeah, because at least
this way we do know.
Yeah, a bit later when we sort of talk about things, how we de-stress and, what helps us, it'd be really helpful for other people if they want to put things in the comments, because it just helps everybody then. And, things we haven't thought about, not your usual thing where you say, I forget things, and some bright spark turns around and says, make a list, because, the next person says that, I'm going to punch them in the face.
That drives me nuts. It doesn't help.
It doesn't help me.
I've got so many lists, and I'm making my own very slow, but digital planner for this reason, because I lose things, and then I can find it on my phone still. I can find it in my computer and so on, and just pull it all forward. And if I want a printed copy, I can. But even with things like that, I can have lists on the go, and they don't help me. And like more recently, all the support and stuff that I have got in place are going, you've got too many things. So just pick the one thing to try and sort out that day. Because at the moment you're looking at your list and you're getting overwhelmed.
Well, this is why
how do you prioritize when you're overwhelmed?
I actually hate lists because I forget things. And I know that sounds silly. I can write it down, but I still forget it. And then when I look at my list, hi, Laugh More. I'm good today. Thank you. I hope you're doing well. I look at my list at the end of the day and think, I didn't do that. I forgot that. I forgot that. And that depresses me even more. I mean, look, this is me. It follows me around. I have that many pads and pens. Doesn't matter where I am. They're right next to me. And I write everything down. But then I'm flicking through the book because I, like a normal person, I never start on one page. I just open the book and start anywhere in the middle.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, don't ask me why. It's just my thing. So
I think we missed saying hi to Kerry as well. I've just spotted. Kerry, when you're watching the two screens as well, it's so easy to miss people. Yes. So
hi, Kerry. Actually, let me go down the list and say hello to everybody now that we're here. So we should say,
because that's a nice list.
It is a nice list, isn't it? Look. Hi, Cement Shoes. Hi, Patty. Hi, Wolvo. Hi, Patty. Hi, Wolvo. Hi, Kerry. Hi, Leslie. Hi, Joe. Hi, Laughmore. Now, I don't know if I know you or whether you're just somebody that's found us today or somebody that's just in disguise, but it's nice to see you. I'm glad you're here. And everybody else. Can I just say, everybody, and Joe, hi, Joe. I'm so glad you can come to see us. I know you've really not been feeling well at the moment. So please sit back and enjoy. And yeah, that would be great. But these lovely people in the chat, this is one of the things I'll probably touch on a bit later. But I said earlier, I go on YouTube quite a bit. And for the people here in the chat know me very well, that I follow the Johnny Depp case quite closely. And a lot of these people I've met through that. And they are absolutely such lovely people. Really, really are. And I'm so thrilled that you've actually taken the time to come and watch my YouTube. So thank you. Laugh More, we did. I know who you are now. Yes, it's been a long time, actually, hasn't it, Laugh More? It really has, since we were last on. Thank you so much for coming back. So, shall we? I don't know where Chris and Elinor are yet, but hopefully they'll either be watching if they're not feeling up to it, or will join us a bit later on. But yeah, I was just wanting to touch on, I recently went to see my rheumatologist, and I told Aimee, but I've just got my diagnosis, as well as the fibromyalgia, with something called FND, functional neurological disorder. And I'm only going to very quickly, if I can, share a screen. If I can, I don't really know what I'm doing. Because I think for, hi Richard, I think for people like us with all these little bits and pieces, FND kind of, it isn't the same as fibromyalgia, but it is the same kind of neurological disorder where it affects the central nervous system. And I was amazed when I looked at the list of things that the FND incorporates. It was quite shocking. So I think it's important for people to actually have a look at that, because it's something else to look into. So give me 2 seconds if I can share the screen. I won't take too much time on this.
I think this the thing though is, like, some people do feel they just kind of get told, oh, it's fibromyalgia, but it could be that there's other conditions going on there that aren't known as well either, and we don't know about it until someone's got, oh, we think you've got this, or someone actually cares enough to flag something.
Yeah.
I remember you mentioning it, and I was thinking, oh, I must look that up. And do you know what happens when I say that? I write it down, and then I fall asleep at some point, and then it's as if it never happened.
Yeah. Right. I don't know what I'm doing here. So can anyone?
I can see the screen sharing.
You can see the screen sharing.
Yeah, and you're now back on the stream. So
right.
There we go.
Can you see? Because I can't see anything now apart from this screen.
That's the idea.
That's the idea. So that's
as long
good.
as you stay on that screen and don't click stop share, everyone else will see.
Okay, right. Well, I'm just going to very quickly scroll up, and bear in mind I can't see what I'm doing. So shout at me, Aimee, if I'm not doing anything. These are just some of the symptoms. And if you, let me just say the website is FND Guide neurosymptoms.org. And these are just some of the symptoms. And when you go into the links, it's quite eye-opening. So you've got functional limb weakness. I won't read them all out because there's loads of them, but can you all see them? For me personally, I do occasionally suffer with the functional limb weakness. I don't know whether that's part of FND or whether that's just me. But for my biggest thing is the functional dizziness, the PPPD. That's what causes me one of the most difficulties. And the dissociative seizures. If you know me well enough, you will see them happen. And it just looks like I've just gone off into a daydream. It doesn't last very long, but I can feel really quite exhausted after. And then you've got the visual symptoms, which are causing me a huge amount of grief at the moment, because I'm going to come out of this now.
I've put the link in the chat. I know that
Leslie's
just said it's a bit blurry.
Sorry.
I think that's just because of the way things work when you share screen. Sometimes it doesn't focus well.
It doesn't.
But
Sorry.
In the chat. Sorry, people can kind of at least get back to that.
Yeah, do take the time if you are interested to have a quick look on that website, because I say it's so interesting. But for me, at the minute, the vision, because I do, I do loads of craft work. But I haven't been able to do it because I just can't see, and it's so frustrating.
It's so difficult because when there's so little that we can't. Well, there's so much we can't do. But when there's things that we can sit and do and take our mind off the problems and the stress and the pain, and then there's something else coming up, it's so frustrating. 'Cause it's something I said even tonight, like I'm fed up with having to grieve parts of my life that I've had to give up because of health conditions. But when you think, oh yes, I've got something, and then you've got another problem that's affecting that, it's that sort of, oh God, I've got to start again.
Yeah. I say a couple of years ago, I was quite happy just sort of sitting and doing my card making, drawing, cakes, anything, whatever, just craft work. I mean, my house is still completely overrun with paper and pens and paints and you name it. If you want something, I've tried it, I've done it, or I've got it.
That's me.
But now it's just, I haven't got the concentration and I haven't got the vision. I mean, I used to do really nice jewelry making. That was quite a long time ago, but can't do it anymore. So you just have to move on and find new things. And at the moment, like I said, I'm really into the Johnny Depp case, so that's keeping me quite occupied, and meeting loads of new friends online, which is keeping me sane and actually happy, because instead of being stuck on my own, because let's say my kids are grown up, we've got one that doesn't leave his bedroom, and one that's either at work, out, or asleep. So I don't talk to anyone. So having a chat with these lovely people is, it's really good for me. Really good.
I think a lot of people will understand that as well, because I'm sure with them having long-term conditions, whether it's fibromyalgia, whether it's FND, and even mental illnesses, it's so isolating. Any condition that just doesn't go away with some antibiotics, really.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. And we're sort of expected to accept that, and that's tough.
Yeah.
And we do our best.
Yeah. She's never around though, is she, Wolvo? Never. Oh dear. Yes, Patty, it is nice to communicate with adults once in a while. Although, Patty, you know these people. Are they really adults? Yeah, I'm not sure.
You know what? I still turn around, even my partners, he went to me, I just don't feel like I'm old enough and grown up enough to be doing X, Y, Z. And I went from, do you know what? I sometimes go out shopping, get totally overwhelmed. I've stood there and I'm like, I need an adult. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I am an adult. I need an adult.
Yeah. Although you expose yourself to everybody, you know, some of us are immune now. But she's 18, bless her. Although, I mean, yeah, he's more than welcome to come up here, but he never wears a shirt. It's still debatable what he wears under the table, but he never wears a shirt. So that's just the way he is. And we love him for it.
Well, some days clothes hurt us. We get that.
Why put quite frankly, we all like to just sort of, hi, Josie.
I pulled out all my eyelashes from one eye.
Sorry, my daughter is talking to me. Aimee, I'm going to go and slight mute for a moment if you want to have a chat with anyone.
So, because today we're looking at coping with stress and relationships, we know they sort of kind of go back and forth to linking into each other. So you get stress that affects you and your relationships and those around you. And that's really, really tough. Whether it's just trying to deal with the stress or trying to deal with the impact it's then having on your relationships. So hopefully we can say what we find is helpful. And I know even we've got the lovely Jo here who's quite good with her holistic input with things, and that might even be really helpful as well, because I know massage was fantastic for me when I could afford to have massages, just as a de-stressor itself. But for other aspects of our health, that can be really helpful. So I was thinking, what sort of things are big stresses for everyone and how we cope with them. So
I'm back.
Yeah.
That was one of my stresses. There you go. Everyone witness my stresses. Kids that just talk when they want.
Don't give you a moment.
Don't give you a moment. They never have. Never.
I think that's the thing when you have kids, though. I mean, men don't grow up. I've got a partner who adult, but it's like having a fully grown child, I think. And I can understand why I drove my mum up the wall for so many years.
Oh, my daughter's payback for me, big time. Big time. She looks nothing like me, but personality-wise, she's
Yeah, I think I'm probably payback I think I've got my payback to come when I have kids, because I was a horror.
I don't think I was, but compared to my sister, who was always so well behaved, you know, she studied, she didn't really go out, whereas I was out all the time. I was, Richard, you're not mature at all, give over. Yeah, she was the golden child, really. I was the fun one. That's all I'm saying. I was fun.
I think now I'm the golden child, but not so much when I was younger. But I think as I've got older and I've got more diagnoses and things, they're sort of making sense to why. And annoyingly, something I can't change, but that does help. But even just general stresses. It's a big pain, whether it's children, whether it's, I don't know, taxes, the cost of living, the things going on in the world that you shut off from, because that's my biggest thing. My TV does not go on at the moment. So, yeah, sort of all these things that impact massively, and you don't realise that at the time anyway.
No. So we've got Laughmore says, you have to develop an inner narrative about the next person, or develop the big rule narrative about you, that you are not the person who reacts to stress. Do you know, I am actually starting to learn that, because whether it's just because I've got so exhausted now and I'm just too tired and can't be bothered with anything, whether it's because my kids have grown up and are a little less difficult for me. But things just don't get to me now. It's just, well, not everything.
Not in the same way.
But it's just that okay, whatever. Can't. Just don't get stressed. It's not worth it. Try and think about something else, but it doesn't always help. I mean, I had a bit of a rant to one of my friends online the other day. I just texted her and said, I'm going to go crazy if I don't talk to somebody. But within 2 minutes of me just sort of saying what was annoying me, we were having a laugh and it was all forgotten. And then I could, you know, process it properly without all that anger. So it is good to
it's finding that safe space, isn't it, now? And having that, I think. I know COVID's the excuse everyone sort of uses for various problems, but I think that has been a big impact onto accessing the things you need.
Yes.
And whether it is just general medical support from your GP, oh, I've got this problem, and they go, oh, let's do a video consult or whatever, and it's like, you can't assess this over the phone, you can't assess it from a video.
No.
It's like asthma reviews. How the heck can they do an asthma review over the phone?
No, you
can't.
You can't.
I mean, not properly. You can do aspects of that review, but not do a proper review.
I'm very lucky with my rheumatologist, because back sort of middle of last year, it was a phone consultation. And so I explained everything, but then she did say, well, I do need to see you because I want to see how you walk, you know, what, you know, what's going on physically. And she can't do that over a telephone or even a video conference. So that was good. So she put me onto her clinic, and luckily it didn't wait too long. But those sort of things that are needed. But you've got to have the right consultant that will do that.
And listens and takes it in and blah, blah, blah.
The pain management didn't do anything. Did not do anything.
I think it depends what area you get put to or sent to, because for me, pain management couldn't do a lot for the management of the pain in that respect, but they was focusing more on trying to help me be able to do things like pacing. And I actually got diagnoses while doing that, and they just one day went to me, do you know what, I wish I could be more help, but it's a big problem when you don't know all of your problems, because then we can't adapt things to make things stick. And that's a big pain in the butt. I'm sorry, it is a massive pain in the butt, because if that was all sorted, then that would make a big difference for medical professionals who actually try to help.
Yeah. So can I just bring up this, because I'm actually really, really pleased to see this. That sorry to put you on the spot here, Laughmore, but I know we had quite a big discussion, you know, way back, and you were not in a good place. So it's kind of nice to see you sort of getting back on your feet and sort of starting to, you know, take steps and realize that, you know, not get so stressed about these things. And I do agree, you know, I would like to throw my kids out the window sometimes. Not really, if you're listening. Yeah.
I think, you know, you can love your kids as much as you like, but at some point as kids, we are going to drive our parents up the wall, as our kids will drive us up the wall. And that's just how it is. That's life.
I drive my kids up the wall.
Mm.
I'm quite happy to do that.
Mm.
But yeah, I drive my daughter completely insane, I think. But
I think, though, the stresses of that, like trying to not drive them up the wall now they're adults as well, and like consider that, I think that's a big stressor probably for a parent.
Tanya. Yes. But, you know, I'm going to hit the subject. Here we go, because it's one that pretty much I think everybody in our situation is going to hit, and I know you have big time. Filling out forms.
Yes, they don't make them easy.
They don't make them easy. Anyone that
can
says
be traumatic.
It's very traumatic. If you can fill out those forms, fine, with no problems, then I don't think you need to. Because they are not set up for people that need to. And it's awful. And anyone that does, you know, any organization that wants you to fill out all these forms, pages and pages and pages of forms, only to turn around and know full well they're going to say, oh, you don't fit the criteria. Well, oh, Kerry, did you? How did it go? Hope it went okay.
They're my favourite people. We'll have to do a stream just on those wonderful people there at some point.
We will have to.
I'm going to try and bite my tongue to not go onto that topic too much, because it will take over the stream.
Yeah, we will. Perhaps we'll do a whole.
But they are big stressors.
Yeah, it's a huge stressor. I mean, I'm going to have to sort of touch wood here and say, okay, it wasn't perfect, but I was lucky with mine. It did manage to go through reasonably smoothly, but it was still stressful. I've just done the forms for the universal credit to get the enhanced, whatever it is. So I'm waiting to hear about that. I've had my phone consultation.
I can't. I'm on the legacy benefits, so it makes it quite difficult because they don't do anything universally at the moment. They brought in UC to replace all the benefits that they admit don't work, which then didn't work, made people worse off. So they're changing them again at some point, apparently to make them better this year. And I'm just like, so I'm going to be messed up again. I'm going to have to go through more stress again. And it's like, I haven't even made it onto UC.
No, these forms just... For people with anxiety, it's crazy. And there are organisations that say they can help, but you've still got to have all the information to tell them. And if you can't organise your own thoughts and your own information, how can you relay it to them for them to fill out the forms? If they're just going to fill out the forms for me, I can actually do that. It's the whole... Oh, we lost Aimee. Oh, it's the Caroline show. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, if you can't fill out those forms, if you can't think what you need to put on those forms to tell somebody else to put on those forms, it's so difficult. Right, I think Aimee's back. We lost you, Aimee. Are you back now?
That was really weird. I was still sat here, and it went, oh, you're backstage again. I was like, what?
Yeah. Oh, well, you just disappeared, and I came on full screen, which was quite scary. But yeah, suddenly spotlight on me. I don't like that. But yeah, if you've got anxiety, filling out forms or even getting in touch with people to help you fill out forms, it's a nightmare. And I think that's probably how I was okay. I mean, I suffer with anxiety a little bit, but that's more nerves than anything. I don't suffer with anxiety.
The problem is that if you're not expressing it in the way you're meant to, inverted commas there, then you don't fit in the box. And I'm sorry, who decided it had to be a box? I'm a person. It could be a person-shaped container, a circle, a square, a star. Heck, I don't care what it is. But I'm not going to fit into a box. And just like Tanya's just said, it's and you get 0 points. And this is my problem. I've had exactly the same experience. I've gone to 2 tribunals and 1. I'm currently doing the prep for number 3. And I have won and got higher rate on care for the first one, got highest rate on both. The last one, just before we went into our first lockdown. And then this year it's, you've got no professional input. Geez, I'm using the COVID excuse. My turn. My turn.
Use it. Everybody else does. Use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it comes down to the DWP don't base anything on, the fact that with fibro, for example, I could wake up one morning and be unable to walk. And then the next morning I might be struggling to feed myself. But there's no consistency there. So you can't do it based on that. Or it could even be I'm fine in the morning and then later I can't walk or whatever. It changes so much in the day to day.
Yeah.
And the point is that the DWP do not look at the fact of your conditions or the evidence per se. But in my case, a lot of the time I'm winning it because legally I should be getting it. And that's the problem. They don't base it on that.
No, that's right. I just want to bring this up, what Tanya said, because it's a really good point for anybody that is filling out forms or is thinking about filling out forms or is going through, having to fill them out again even.
So with this isn't quite the case either, because at one of my tribunals, the DWP had got footage somewhere of someone literally going into a shop, and there's a video of them doing their shopping. That day they might have been okay, but because they've done, I can't go shopping and I can't do this, then they go, well, she's fraudulently claiming. But it's that one time that you can actually, that person's managed to get out. So it's really difficult because you can put, how your worst days are. But if on a good day they catch you, they go, but that was fraud. And then you've got a whole different problem on top. And it's like, how?
I always cover myself with that because I'll put worst days down when I'm actually doing the tick boxes. I put my worst case. And then in the comments, I put due to my fibromyalgia or consistent with my fibromyalgia, this can change from day to day. Therefore, occasionally I may have a day where I feel up to going out, but this does not happen regularly or consistently.
Yeah.
And because they can't deny that, that is consistent with something like fibromyalgia. So I just kind of cover myself, because if they were to then turn around and say, oh, well, you went shopping that day. Yes, I did. That was really good. Did you see me when I got home and the week later? I actually felt good. Did you see me the week prior to that? No. Yeah. But you saw me on that day because that was the day I managed to, out of the whole 3-week period, get out of the house.
I did my form this time based on the quantity of times in a week that I'd have where I couldn't do stuff, or I was much more limited, and I'm still having to go to tribunal. And last year, 2020, so 2021, I had my money cut and I'm having to fight it again, but nothing's changed in that time period. It still comes down to tick boxes. Fibromyalgia doesn't fit in those tick boxes at all. And I have been told that by Glasgow, by people who work for the DWP and do that. And was advised last time that I should be going to tribunal because I'm entitled to X, Y, and Z, and I'm not getting awarded it because I'm still not fitting in the boxes. And they make this big thing of saying it's not tick boxes, as Kerry's point said, but actually it still is, because they don't base it on the legality of it. ESA, I could not tell you the last time I had an assessment for ESA because I don't remember. I'm on that indefinitely at the moment. Long term, they do soft touches apparently, and I haven't had one for donkeys. I looked back in my folder and I was like, oh, my money increased, as it does, a teeny tiny bit, maybe 10p. over a year period.
And
it's like, oh, I can have a holiday now. I can justify a massage, 10p extra. But yeah, it's so difficult. You do have to kind of put things as much as you can to how it's affecting you day to day. But like you said, putting down that it can fluctuate. Like when I'm stressed, stress causes more physical symptoms. So then I get the TMJ. I can't talk, I can't eat. And everyone's sort of like, well, surely you can eat. No, opening my mouth in any way, agony. And to the extent I was at one point with a GP actually supporting it, taking like a dose that was paracetamol, which I think is sort of 2 tablets every 4 hours-ish or something, 4 times a day or whatever it is. And then I was having the same quantity of tablets with the tramadol, different doses. But I was before I'd been kind of going, I'll take them and then I'll take the other 2 sort of 2 hours later, so that I kind of have consistent top-ups of everything. And they went, no, take them together. And I thought, oh, okay. But I thought then this way I'm giving the paracetamol a chance before going for something stronger. No, I was taking them together, and it's nuts. It does depend who you get. But my report that's come back this time, it doesn't, well, every time, it never equates to me. And they don't give you your full support, like your full report. I've got, this time, because I argued that, I've got a different form number on it. I'll have to find out what it is. So, but yeah, like with the benefits, like Tanya's saying, oh, you can wash yourself, but you can't if you've had a seizure. Oh, it's not safe to if no one else is around. That's where it comes down to. If I'm on my own in the house, like you've said before, you've forgotten to turn off the oven, etc. It's not safe necessarily for you to be alone cooking. Same as with Tanya with her health. She's in the same sort of situation. It's not safe for her to do certain things. No. And they're meant to take that into account, and they don't. And that's where the legal side has to come into it.
No, exactly. I mean, on a general day-to-day, I can cook no problem and do what. Well, no, I can't actually now because I've got the energy to. But if I had the energy to cook, but if I'm having one of my really bad weeks where I'm just completely not even. This is where I don't feel like I'm in my body. It's really weird. It's I can't say the word dissociation.
Disassociation, yeah.
I feel like I'm looking through someone else's eyes, and I'm watching what I'm doing, but I don't feel like I'm doing it. Does that make any sense? I'm watching somebody. It's like I'm watching somebody else do it. I'm not there. And when I can have like 2 or 3 days like that where I am just literally not. I'm a zombie. I am not there. And they are the days where
sleepwalking.
You turn around and the fridge has been left open. The oven's still on. I've left the oven on, gas oven on, that many times overnight because I've done a late night snack for my son and just left. I mean, I don't know how the house hasn't burnt down, but I can say that to them and I can explain exactly how I've explained it to you. But how they tick their boxes
like that.
Yeah.
My report does not.
All they remember is, yes, she can cook.
But this is the thing. The lady who's done the assessment most recently was like, she knew about my condition. She knew about fibro. Finding someone who knows it is really, really tough. And that's like, what? So they were giving prompts. The amount of information that I hadn't mentioned, that they then went and reminded me of. I was like, yeah. And that's the thing. When they've done prompts like that and they're not in the report, and they've admitted that the DWP for your actual report that you get sent, pick and choose out of all the information. So we requested something more in depth, and there's more information than what came originally with my report, but it still doesn't sound like me.
No, I think that's why I hate doing this whole triage thing. If I can just answer Tanya. Yeah, it's to do with the functional neurological disorder that I've just
put the link in the chat again.
Yeah, that I've just been diagnosed with. I've been tested for epilepsy, and it all came back completely clear. So these are just pretend epilepsy. That's all I say. My brain thinks it is, but it's lying. It's not.
You can have dissociative episodes as well with lots of different conditions. I think there's EUPD, which is like the new not algorithm, initials, but that's not the right one, for borderline personality disorder, because people use BPD for bipolar disorder generally. But you like so many different things. I think as well there's mentions of things similar in autism and other things, and it's like these things we think are quite normal for us if we're living with them or whatever, but for someone on the outside that's totally weird. But yeah, sorry to interrupt that, because it can do so much. But you can have dissociative epileptic seizures, so at least like knowing that you don't have that makes it more reassuring in that sense for you, which I think is really helpful.
See, the thing with mine is, and it's even with the sort of walking difficulties and things, the fact that there is no physical damage, there is nothing physically wrong with me. It is just like cross wiring in the nervous system and the brain. It can allegedly be sort of repaired, almost not repaired, but retrained. And so I have to think about that positively, because, you know, you break a leg, it's broken. If your brain just thinks you've got a broken leg, you've just got to retrain your brain to think your leg isn't broken. And, you know, I'm okay. Hopefully. What was this? Hang on, sorry, I'm just looking at Tanya's.
Just replied and seen her response to what I've put as well. Really.
To be fair, my neurologist was absolutely 100% sure. She said, you know, I can't. It started after I had meningitis, which is now 30 years ago, which how scary is that? It just seems like last year. It started after that, and I was very, very ill with meningitis and septicemia. And they didn't think I was going to survive at all. And yet I actually left the hospital with, as far as they said, absolutely no side effects, no nothing. Well, that was a load of crap.
Yes.
Since that day, everything's been wrong. But she said, you know, there's no way, looking at my paper records, I left that hospital without something. And she was quite convinced it was epilepsy, but I don't know. All I know is I zone out and totally. In fact, sometimes it's quite scary, because I will be. It happens when I'm shopping as well. Sometimes when I get stressed, I can just sort of freeze, and I'm trapped in my brain, and I'm thinking, blink, blink. I know everything that's going on around me, but I can't move. I cannot physically move. I can't blink. I'm breathing, and I'm aware of everything, but I can't move. And then suddenly I just snap back out of it and I can carry on. It's so weird. So weird. Don't like it.
No, I know, because my friend, she has EUPD and so on. So I know from her episodes with her disassociation.
It's so hard to say that word.
Yeah. And then to actually remember the word properly and so on as well. Then throw fibrofog and everything into it. It's always good fun. These why give us nice long words like that? But it makes it so hard. And I'd already kind of jumped the gun with Tanya's next thing about, you know, getting diagnosed. It took 2 years for her because they didn't like notice the fact that it wasn't, because it wasn't a grand mal, I want to say, but of petit mal, but I might be wrong, with seizures, you know, in that sense, that you're fighting for that time period. And with any diagnosis, it seems that it's always fighting, which means stress. And
which makes symptoms worse.
Yeah, and I think it's the same with epilepsy as well. So the more stressed you are, the more impact it has, so the more likely for seizures. I might be wrong, so please correct me. I won't be offended by it, but you know, there's got to be that that link behind the scenes. The top dogs who are killing the shots need to get with the program and realize that the stress in life will always make any condition worse.
Yeah, definitely.
It'd be nice for them to do something to make it less stressful.
Yeah. I had to have all the wires as well. They did a 24-hour one, so I had to go up to Denmark Hill, and they put all the wires on my head, and I had all these battery packs and everything. Then I had to go home by train, dressed up like I was a suicide bomber. I don't know if I can say that without getting struck off, but looking like that anyway, with all these wires coming at me. And then they came to my house after and hooked up all the monitors to monitor me overnight. But that was so weird, having to get on a train with everybody avoiding me like the plague, all wired.
And that's the thing, you look alien. If you don't look what's typical in whatever way, no one wants anything to do with you. They sort of shy away.
Speaking of that, shall we go on to our next topic, which is about relationships? Because all of this that we've discussed today affect relationships, affects moods, on whether we even want to talk to people. Because I know I can go weeks, and you probably know it as well, Aimee, because it's not that I ignore your texts and your messages. It's just that I think I'll do that later. I'm not in the mood right now. And then it gets a few days later and I think, oh God, I still haven't. And then you feel bad. And then
I find for me, I'm better with friends who understand, or people in my life who understand that I'm a sort of dip in, dip out because of my health needs. That has meant a lot of people I've went to school with and went to university with, I don't really hear from. And it took a lot of energy trying to keep those relationships up. And in the end, I just went, you know what? I can't do that. And, you know, it's got to have that sort of flexibility there with our relationships. If people can't have that flexibility,
no.
We
so I have a question. Wolfo, you're not an animal? That's a matter of opinion, really. Oh, sorry, Aimee. Put your...
It's all right.
God, I'm so good at this, aren't I? Yeah. I don't know.
It puts a lot of strain on your relationships as well, on a whole. Like when you're stressed, I mean, my partner is so laid back. He's almost horizontal, which does help because generally that makes me calmer. But it doesn't mean that he doesn't finish work and I've got myself in a tears, no meds are in my system to help me stay sort of calmer, and he just kind of walks into me sort of having a bit of a meltdown over whatever, and sometimes you can just see it's like, oh gosh, deer in headlights moment, I'm just gonna walk away. And you feel awful, but it's just that's how it is.
Yeah, I mean, you're lucky that you are in a relationship, which is good. I mean,
I've taken long enough.
I have literally got, in all honesty, I don't know if he's still in the chat, one friend that I've known since I was 16, and that's the only person that kind of understands and can tolerate the fact that I might not talk to him for weeks, and then I might randomly text like 1 billion times a day another week because I'm all hyper and like, yay, I'm already ready to go. Or he'll send texts and I don't answer for 4 days. But you have to have friends that understand that, and I'm afraid I've only got the one. Other than that, they're probably, I don't know. I haven't got the energy to talk to people. I think this is why I like my online family here that are with me now. And it's so nice to have them here.
That's like my big pro for me. Like that's the easiest way for me to keep any sort of relationship alive. Like even friendships, the few that like I have, I kind of go, one day I'm sort of like, oh, is it really a friendship? But then I kind of think, actually, I'm now sat here thinking, actually, do you know what? The fact that I message and I go, like, I'm having a rough time at the moment, so don't worry if you don't hear from me. And then for they're checking on me the same way I did for them. And I sort of like, actually, I should be saying this is a friendship. But it's so difficult to sort of think with our conditions, because I kind of think, oh gosh, I've been a terrible friend. I wouldn't want me as a friend at times. So it's that like aspect for me. I sort of think, oh gosh, I'm terrible.
I think that's how my son feels as well. At least that's how he describes it sometimes, that he feels bad about being a bad friend to people.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of bad friends, I talk about one person kindly for a change, and he torments me with, have you tried prayer? Which winds me up. Not being religious, and I don't, just because I'm not religious doesn't mean, other people are, and I think that's that's for them and that's great, but I'm not, so fantastic. That winds me up.
Well, I found like I went to a Church of England school because that was what my dad was Catholic and my mum was very much on not having that.
So can you hear my pipes?
Is that pipes?
That's my pipes. She's just turned the shower on. And the pipes go like this. Sorry, it's going to do it for ages.
I could not imagine being asleep and having that happen. Because that would, the heart attack. Gosh, you poor thing.
Sorry, hang on. Look, give me a minute. I'm going to have to actually just go and turn the cold tap off, because that's going to be the only thing that stops it. I'll be back. Sorry. I'll turn the noise off.
Tanya thought someone was talking. I thought that to start with. I thought someone's doing a noise, and I was like, oh, that's quite loud. I'm just having a quick nosy at the comments. Hospital. Gosh, that's nuts that we've kind of been sort of moved to a different area and no one's taken any sort of concern for your health and your needs. Like, I know I moved when I was sort of a child, and then I went to uni and came back and so on, and had my breakdowns at uni, which was always fun, but the fact was that they were actively trying to do something to help as well. And I came back home and I was like, oh, okay, my GP doesn't do that. What do I do? And it's sort of, you kind of end up, you move address, you move house, you move area code, you change GP practice, and then you're back in limbo again. I think it makes it so difficult because, nuts. I
missed all that. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just reading about Tanya saying about hospitals, and then he moved area, and then no one is saying. I know there's talks about movies as well, so it might be that I've kind of gone tangent off or muddled things, but I thought I'll throw that one in. That's somewhat relevant because people do. You change hospitals and so on, and then or area or whatever, and you can get totally lost.
Yeah,
nuts.
I don't really have much experience with that, because other than living in Canada, which was a completely different system to here, I've only lived in the borough that I'm in. I nearly said it then. I've only lived in this particular borough, so which is absolutely god awful for anyone with mental health issues. Just putting that out there.
Do you know what I think? Throughout the recessions and the stuff that I've sort of found out, our borough's always been the only borough that's had money left in the pot at the end of the year when there's been the recessions. And it's like, why do you think that is? It's because they're not putting it towards the services that are required. So, and they had quite a lot left in their pot. And then they'll go, oh, right, we need to empty the pot, as it were, so that we can get more money next year. But then they'll start doing road markings and resurfacing. And
why do they only resurface the same roads? Because some roads that are in posher areas than mine they're just constantly doing their roads. And yet mine, which is lethal, really, but it's in a very, very rundown, poor area in the borough, probably the worst.
That's what it comes down to, isn't it?
And they don't care. I don't blame them for not caring, to be fair, because whatever they do just gets ruined within 2 days. But it's still annoying for the people that don't ruin it.
I think that's the same in most areas. You have your good areas, your not so good areas, and the forgotten areas, as I would say. because they want to pretend they don't exist.
Want to pretend they don't exist. Well, we don't bring any money into the to them, do we? We cost them money. We don't bring it in, which is unfortunate, because you know what? Bring the area up and you'll get more people come into it, because in all fairness, this, take away all the bad bits, it is such an old village. I mean, some of the houses are from the 13th century and they are beautiful. It's a tiny little village and it's absolutely stunning, and they could do so much with it. The landmarks that are here, it's a beautiful village.
The hidden gems.
Yeah. So if only they just put a bit of effort into it, they could bring this area up so well.
And that's the thing. I think they just have left everything in those areas because they just don't see the benefit there. But actually, they could do so much. I mean, it's like the logic in the systems as well that are in place. I know with the road I live in, we had such problems with cars being hit that were parked and things like that. In 2019, my car was written off and my brother's by one accident while parked on the drive. We were all asleep. And then 6 weeks later, after we'd got our new cars, they got hit again. And then my car was in for that repair and we went into the first lockdown. And you can imagine how that was without a car. It was, and they were telling us before that they wouldn't do anything to solve the problems until there was a fatality on the road. There was, right down near the house. And what they did instead was put like traffic calming measures, which are sort of like chicanes, I think they're called. You sort of have to go zigzagging. Boy racers just race through them. It's not solved it. It's made it 10 times worse, but nowhere near where the accidents were or the fatality was. And it's putting the funds in, and then it still comes back to stress, isn't it? Like, is it safe to come out of my house? Am I likely to have someone come and mount the pavement and into the drives? I mean, we've got damage to the house that hasn't been repaired still. And it's like, okay, so we have to just sit and wait for everything to be sorted by certain idiots, as you well know, of having to deal with the same people. But it's like, there's no logic to it. The only time like that we've kind of gone, I can feel safe in the front garden, is when they're doing gas works and there are traffic lights, and I want them back so badly.
Can you get some cones and put them around the house?
I'd love to. Do you know what we did have a counsellor who was trying to help with the problems because they've been trying for years, and credit to that member.
You do get one though, don't you? You get one that tries so hard.
And I think it must be so demoralising for that member, because they kind of came back to us with it and gone, the council said that you can have XYZ put in. And it's like the barriers they use on motorways. Yeah. And we just kind of went, but that's not going to solve it, because then, we've got a small drop down. So it's a tight enough gap anyway, which means we're going to have to be more in the middle of the road to get onto our drives. That's going to make it more dangerous. And they kind of was like, they agreed, but they're still fighting to try and get something else offered. And it's the same, I think, with everything we have to live with. Battle.
It is, but should we finish on giving some tips on how we cope with our stressors? Because we've talked about some of our stressors. I don't know. Have you got any tips and suggestions of what works for you for when you get really?
So I've done loads of things. Every time I get shown like these self-care things, like the amount of little circles that get shown, and I just sit there and I go, there's nothing new there for me to try. Does frustrate me. But I found now with everything going on in the world, I literally headphones on, music on, nothing's going on around me. That's the only way I'm coping. And that's a really big problem, because then people trying to come and actually have a conversation with me, and that doesn't work. So I end up sort of distancing those I live with. But the other thing is trying to find a safe place to sort of talk about things, and someone who will listen. So someone who's not so available to access some of the support and stuff that we have in place, I chat with them a lot, almost every day, without fail, at least once in that day, and rant and get some sound offs. And sometimes with things, we both end up a bit more riled up about it, but because it's not you going through that sense of feeling on your own as well, I find that's really helpful.
I think sometimes we ruminate in our own heads, don't we, about scenario. Well, I do, about scenarios, about what I want to say, what I'm going to say, what I didn't say, what I did say. And it goes on in our own head. Just to be able to actually say that out loud to somebody, kind
without
of
judgment.
It clears, gets those thoughts more in line, really, other than because I just think our own brains just make things more negative. We have that little devil on our shoulder, don't we, that you try and think positive and it goes, well, blah, 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 blah. So to be able to talk to somebody.
For me, with having the ADHD as well, rumination is a big problem because my brain doesn't stop. So when the meds stop working as they do, then I'm on my own. And everyone sort of goes, oh, you must have a coping mechanism for that. And I'm like, well, no, because no one realized I had this until just before COVID. So, COVID. And that's all well and good. But like, if it's picked up on in childhood, there are systems that you can learn. And some people it doesn't work for. They can sometimes at different conditions behind the scenes. But if it was picked up earlier, or someone cared enough, let's put it that way, because there's lots of things in my school reports that kind of make me think they could have picked up on things. Just no one cared enough. And that's the thing. If you're not being naughty consistently at those ages, things aren't picked up. So you don't learn those skills that would be really helpful into adult life, and then you're kind of stuffed in adult life. But for me, that leaves me with just music, really, to sort of block the world out. But it also means I can be quite productive, I've noticed. Bashing out complaints letters have been quite a good one recently. GP practice got 4 on Monday. 4 on Monday. They're going to have another one because they've arranged to do calls about them. That didn't happen. And then they've got one from me because they kindly sent me a text this week of, oh, you're eligible for Weight Watchers. And I'm just like,
I've got that one.
Do you know what? Like when I've gone to them and I've gone, at the moment things are really tough and I'm struggling, to then send me that shows me such little regard for my health at the moment.
Yeah. To be fair, I guess they just sent them out sort of randomly to people on lists.
That's my point.
Because I got one and I had the opposite thought for you, because I am desperately trying to lose weight. And I thought, yes, fantastic. This is what I want. And I'm so excited. And I went through all the forms. I got right to the end. It got to my BMI and it said I wasn't eligible. I don't know why I wasn't eligible, whether it was too high, too low, too what. They didn't specify what you had to be. But I was just like really deflated then. I just wanted to bring up what, before we go on too much further, Patty has a really good point as well. It does feel better to rant to somebody, but you do kind of feel bad. I think you've just got to I try not to use the same person all the time, to be fair. Aimee and I have had our rants, and but honestly, if you can find somebody that does get it and does understand, feel free to message me, DM me if you want to have a rant. I'm quite happy to listen to people ranting, and that goes for anybody, really. I'm a good listener because I zone out, so you can just rant and I won't even hear half of it.
I sometimes think one benefit with fibro is the memory problems, because you can rant and then you'll forget it, so it always stays confidential. I know that's not necessarily the way you want to put things across, but I find that that makes a fantastic thing for that, and ensuring that you can keep things private. I think as well, having that a good friend or someone who's willing to listen. Like more recently, I was a bit unreasonable in some ways because I ended up with too much going on. But when I actually told someone who was having stuff going on and they were stressing, I told them that I'm not okay at the moment and I can't be there in this sense. And then they didn't listen. And it's like, I need to, for anyone, I think this is really, really important. It's hard when you've asked for help, but it's also hard to say you can't take anything else on. And I'm very boom or bust. I will push and push and push, and then I'll be messed up for a while. But finding that strength to actually say to someone that you're struggling, you're finding things hard, and you need someone to back off so that you can deal with all the rubbish that's going on for you is hard. And then for them to not listen, I just sent an email to this person. I said, I can't do it. And it took them ages to reply, and they're sort of like, oh, I didn't realize. And I was like, what? I'm writing it. It's not even I'm on the phone and you could have forgotten. It's right in front of you. And I haven't replied to that because I'm thinking, how do I reply calmly?
You've got to put. Can I just introduce my daughter here, who's obviously been interrupted because she has her own dilemma at the moment, and
I've ripped out all my eyelashes from one eye.
Well, that was clever.
And that's a big stressor for an 18-year-old, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go on, go away.
Oh, yeah.
I never had that. I never had the worry at 18 about things like that. I was like, right, I want my hair dyed, and that was sort of it. That was my personality of my teen years. I couldn't be bothered with makeup and all that sort of thing. But I
just wanted to go to the pub. I didn't care about anything else.
I was already struggling with my pain. And I think that's my problem. I didn't have those teen years. Everyone goes, oh, what did you do this, that, and the other? And I'm like, no. Even at uni, I got the nickname Mummy Aimee because I was looking after everyone. I was the youngest there, and I was looking after everyone getting pissed.
I definitely was not that person. But that said, I've always had
that person
because I'm hypermobile. So I've always had that sort of those pains and dislocations and things. But it didn't really bother me that much. It was, walking up and down stairs. I don't think I've ever been able to walk up and down stairs without going, oh, ow.
I was looking.
Luckily, mine wasn't until sort of like my early 20s.
I like anything that's sciencey that you can sort of prove it, or you can try and work things out. So I would love to be someone behind the scenes who works out how to fix people, because I'd love that. But realistically, not going to happen. And I found out women have double the pain receptors than men. And I sat there and I think, hold on a minute, we're the ones who go through lots of things that are going to be painful. Is this why we do have more, we tend to have more tendency to be boom or bust? Because we have colds and we get up, we have flu, we'll get up, whereas the opposite sex might be in bed. My partner will kind of whinge about things a bit more than he probably should when he's not feeling too great. And I'm sort of unsympathetic because if I get it, then I'm flawed for so much longer than him. But I'm thinking maybe because we do just have that tendency of, when back in donkey's years, women stayed at home. They had to stay at home and look after the kids and maintain the home. If we sort of
bring back those days, that's what I say. Bring back those days. Curse those women that burnt those bras. Sorry, I am not.
No, ban the bras.
I am not a feminist. Just saying that.
I'm for equality. So if I'm doing the same job as a man, I should be paid the same. But there are some jobs that I would not be able to do. There are some women who structurally could do things that I can't anyway. And I think, well, if they're doing the same thing as a man, absolutely pay them the same. But I shouldn't be doing a job that I can't do.
No,
I mean, the same money.
Don't get me wrong. I say that lightheartedly, obviously. I think, when it comes to rights of voting but what I don't like about it is the fact that we wanted this feminism so that we could have a choice, and I feel like that choice has been taken away. You know, I feel bad now just saying I want to be a girl, and I feel like that's wrong, but I do. But I don't see. I've always wanted to stay home, look after the kids, have the husband go out to work. I'd have his dinner on the table, and that to me was my ideal. And yet you're kind of conditioned into thinking, no, you've got to go out and have a career and do this and do that, and almost that choice was taken away.
I find it's like totally different for me. My mum's always been sort of she was working and so on, and she did, like, back before the first recession. I don't think it was the first one, might be what's classed as the second, but anyway, in her lifetime, maybe the first recession, she did work for the MOD, you know, back, and she was like one of the few women there. So you had the men going, oh, let me carry this for you and let me take that for you, to the extent of they went, oh, I can take your handbag. She's like, I think I can manage that. But you know, you don't have that politeness though now. You struggle and no one cares, no one notices, no one bothers.
I miss those days. I used to work in IT, so I'd be carrying, and we're going back like 20 odd years. So when I talk about carrying a monitor, I'm not talking about one of these nice black screens. I'm talking about one of these great huge television things. Yeah,
carrying those around. The MacBook.
Everyone would. I mean, I'm saying I worked in IT. I got no stick whatsoever. I was paid the same. I was treated the same. But if I was carrying one of those, you guarantee one of the young men there would turn around and say, oh, I'll take that for you. And I'd say, thank you.
Yeah.
Not be aggressive.
Not because I'm struggling, but actually appreciating the fact that they're kind of going, oh, you know what, I could help there. Because I wouldn't have thought about it in that sense, even now. And I think, I mean, I'm quite blessed being white, and I don't have as many problems as the people of color do in life. But my first experience of, you know, bullying was not from white people. And that was like the first experience of it. I was used to being at a school that was quite white anyway, because of the area we're in, but you'd have someone who is Asian or of color or whatever come in, and everyone was like, I want to be their friend, I want to know about them, I want to know about their culture, because that was how it was for us. Moved to a slightly different area, totally different, and I was the target, even still in somewhere that was still quite white, but people of color did not like me. And it's always sort of, for me, it's always been, if I was kind of like putting it in ratios, people of color have been against me more than people of my own skin type. But you try and address that, because you can't. You just get told, oh, they're being racist. And I did have that. I had someone turn around and say, oh, I was complaining about a behavior that I was having happen, and it was because I was racist. And I was like, but I didn't tell anyone about this. Because obviously you have a member of staff or a teacher come to you, and I went, but I haven't told anyone this. And they went, no, someone else came to us and said this was going on, so we had to address it. And they said, oh, it's because you did X, Y, Z. And I went, I've never spoken to them like more than 3 words. It was like from having quite a sheltered experience to that was such an extreme. And even now, like the worst one was actually the way I was treated by people who are Christian, and obviously Church of England. That's sort of what I was brought up in. I didn't agree with having worship every day and stuff at school, and that drove me up the wall. But I had to respect that was the way they did things, and I accepted that. But when I was really unwell in my teens, it was people of the church who were quite happy to sling me under the bus quicker than anything else, and it makes it so hard. But my best friend, Muslim, when I was at primary school, Muslim, did not have an issue. Then things started to become more aware, and even then I was sort of like, can you explain to me where this might come from? She went, well, my experience with it isn't like that. I can't find where someone could interpret it like that. And I think that's one massive thing I can give a big thumbs up to. The fact that I had someone who was in my life already and could go, I don't understand where it's come from.
Yeah.
Because that's not what I see. Because now, as an adult, I maybe if I was younger, it might have gone to all Muslims do X, Y, Z or whatever. We know that that's not the case. Most people understand that, but it doesn't make it less scary for those who don't quite understand.
No.
And I'm very blessed to have had someone who could actually, at a relatively young age, go to me, I don't understand why they're doing it, because it's not in our religion, it's not in this, it's not in the other. And you don't get that now. I mean, they say, let's be honest, racism doesn't come from being born. You're not born racist. It's taught, and it's your experience.
It's something. I think this is the thing as well, though. It's an individual perspective, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, how we think is influenced by our own experiences. And, our experiences are the people that we grow up with, our friends, our family. And so their experiences become our experiences and our knowledge. So I don't think we can put it against any sort of individual religion or race or anything. I think it is just an individual thing. But what the issue is when you get sort of peers with that, and one person will say their opinion and other people then tell us, oh yeah, that's right. And then it's almost like what's that, where you get your pitchforks, your village mentality. And it's just like, and half those people that are doing that and saying that
because they
don't actually agree with it, but they're going with what they think they should be thinking. And I just wish people would actually start thinking for themselves and actually having the guts to turn around and say, that's not right. So it is nice.
One advert I have heard about is about when, catcalling and commenting on women and stuff when they walk by. I saw only because it was pointed out that I should look out for it, and saw that, and saw the fact that they're promoting now other people in groups of sort of teenage men or young adults calling out their friends with that. And I think, fantastic. Now let's do that with all aspects of racism. Let's do that with all other things. I know it's going to take time. Everything seems to take way too long. But
well, I don't know. Yes, it does seem to. But when you think about what was happening in like the 50s and the 60s to what is happening now, I think we've come such a long way. But unfortunately, I think the scales are now starting. Same with feminism. It's all starting to tip. Nobody seems to be happy with a balance. Everybody seems to want to be on top, no matter what here. I'm not talking about anything in particular, but it's just, you've got your racisms, your feminisms, your genderisms. It's gay rights. I don't disagree with any. I mean, I am in absolute agreement with all of it. Absolutely, 100%, always have been. My friend actually said to me, I was woke before woke was a thing. So I don't like wokeness today, but back then. But there's no balance. Everybody wants to tip the scales so that they're better than the other person. Women want to be better than men. No, we're different.
I see it as
we can't be one above the other. We're different equally.
Our genetic differences have pros and cons for both sides. So as a woman, my genetics are designed more to be loving, maternal, blah, blah, blah. Men are going to be physically stronger because back years ago, they had to do those sorts of things because we couldn't do it. And let's be honest, their bodies would not enable them to feed a child. That was only something we could do as women. And that was how it was. Back to hunter-gatherer, that was how it was. So thumbs up to that. But I also say that it goes down to sort of maturity levels. Like, men take a longer time to mature than women. But my dispute to that side of that is, we go through maturity and women have kids, so they have to be grown up. Whereas men down the years, they would have kind of gone to work and joked about it. Like, I've got another kid on the way or whatever. And that was how it was back then, but like even now it still affects. And I just go, yeah, but you've got the women being the sensible parent. Sometimes it's the other way around. I will hold that up. It's not always as black and white, but you've got to have that sort of fun parent, as it were. And it does.
Sometimes
hard,
it's only one parent. Doesn't matter which way.
And
my kids only ever had one parent.
That's what I had. And my mum, I mean, yeah, no parent's perfect. Every parent's going to make mistakes.
I'm perfect. Sorry.
I think generally every parent's going to make a mistake to their child. At least it will be a mistake in some way or another. And if you're a single parent, you don't have that backup system for someone to sort of be in your corner all the time, and which does make it harder because you want to be able to be approachable and so on, but you kind of also need to be firm enough that they're not walking over you.
Is that where I went wrong?
I'm not a parent. This is just me kind of pulling on things I've seen from other households.
Well, you're absolutely right. You are.
But
I always felt so guilty that I was doing the job of two people, and I didn't feel guilty that they were missing out on things particularly, because I don't think they were really, but I felt so bad that because their dad is still around, but not never, that's not true. He does get in contact with them, but he's in a different country. I mean, it's not like he can just come and visit. I just didn't want them thinking that he didn't care, because that isn't true. And that was my biggest fear. So I was always trying to compensate for that.
I think that's probably really, really common for any parent in that situation, whether single mums, single dads even. And I think, my mum's always kind of said, now I'm older, it's so hard because I always thought I was doing something wrong. I always felt like I wasn't giving you what you needed. And I just went, but Mum, look at the person I am now. Mm-hmm. What if you could have given me the world? She recalls friends that I had at primary schools before we moved here, and saw them in adulthood at one point just because we bumped into each other in town, and she just went, cool, they're so spoiled. And I was just like, and they got everything they wanted whenever they asked. And whereas I grew up with, well, I had to do certain chores to get pocket money, and that wasn't very good. I often didn't have pocket money because I just wasn't motivated in that way. But when I did have pocket money, I understood the value of money. So now as an adult, it was grown on trees technically before, but it's definitely not grown on trees now. And,
they cut all the trees down.
Yeah, and they use something
to make paper straws.
Yeah, I don't
Don't get me on straws. I always bring up straws because that is my biggest. I hate it.
Paper straws are useless. I've actually got biodegradable sort of plastic ones because they feel the same as plastic. They're not plastic. And I've also got metal straws, and I've got silicone tips because I don't like the metal in my mouth.
No, I can't. So, I can't even put the paper ones in my mouth. It just makes me. Ugh, no, I can't take it.
I'm all for being eco-friendly. I'm all for making good choices. But when I've found alternatives out there that feel like plastic and don't disintegrate in your drink, come on, McDonald's, pull your finger out and put the money in there.
I mean, I was enjoying my Costa, whatever it is, Frappuccino. And I got halfway through it and the straw just disintegrated.
And then you can't drink because every time you're trying, it's just sucking paper.
Why the straw? You've got all the plastic bags, you've got all the containers, you've got everything made out of plastic, and you pick on a straw that many disabled people need.
The straw came from the fact that there was that turtle image that they had, and there was a video where they were showing them having to remove it from this poor turtle because it was up its nose, and it was horrible to watch, and so on. And the same as like the plastic rings that are around beer cans, they were showing things like that. And they've been more predominant, whatever, out there. So people have acted on that, but you can get fantastic alternatives. You just have to find them. And there's bamboo straws, for goodness sake. Bamboo is fantastic. Why aren't we using more bamboo? Because it grows like mad. That's more eco-friendly. Let's leave the trees alone. Bamboo paper. There's now stone paper.
Can we not just actually get to the root of the issue? Okay, for a start, I understand we've got to start getting rid of the plastics and things, but that's got to start with production, not with telling people what they can and can't do, because that's the dictatorship, and I disagree with that. Okay, you cannot tell people they can't do these things.
They did during COVID. We weren't allowed to protest or anything.
Yes. What happened to being a free country? I'm not getting onto that subject.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, why don't we just teach people how to dispose of litter instead of washing over it? Yeah, you can just, we'll ban things, instead of telling you that you can't just throw your rubbish on the floor. Let's put bigger fines up. Do you remember being at school when you used to have to do litter duty?
Oh, yeah.
You don't do that anymore.
To avoid being with people who I had problems with, I signed up to do things. So I was in the eco club, and as much as I love nature, I didn't like the fact that I then got branded with, oh, you're an eco warrior, because then it was sort of a frowned upon thing. But actually, I liked going and spending my lunchtime at the ponds and watching the frogs and seeing the frogs spawn and the tadpoles and things like that. That was much nicer than being on a playground getting a load of rubbish off people. And that was how I saw it. Do I want to go and be a target, or should I just enjoy things and be happier?
I love that. I mean, I would always do that. I love the serenity, isn't that it? Of just being there. I love nature. I could just look out of my window and just watch the little birds and butterflies and things. I'm well in my element there. And I would never want to hurt this planet or, animals and things. That's not what I'm saying.
We do our best, but our council doesn't. I mean, my partner, when I go up there, I'm going, does this recycle? And they went, well, look at the box. If it says it's got a recycle logo, you recycle it. And I went, but I can't do that at home. They put everything, cardboard, paper, cans, glass, everything in one container, one bin.
They make us divide it all up and then throw it all into the same truck. What is this about?
But they don't make it easy for us. And that's the thing that frustrates me. They want us to do more, and people would do it if it wasn't so damn difficult.
I mean, in Korea, they're really quite hot on dividing up all your rubbish and doing it. But that's the way to go. Make people responsible for it. Don't just ban everything and let people continue to just throw their rubbish, because you're not solving any problems there.
Well, I think the problem there is
corporate companies. Can you stop making the product just because you get a big bonus? How about that?
I mean, the amount of Easter eggs I've seen this year as I've been out going plastic-free packaging, I'm like, fantastic. Is it all recyclable? Yes, fantastic. Except for the fact the foil you've put around the egg, our council doesn't let us recycle. That's not so good. And that's the thing. Like, if I while I'm at my partner's, I literally know if it's got a recycle label, it can go. Fantastic. But then not so good if I'm going, oh, do they take this bottle that's made of plastic? No, it's the wrong type of plastic. But then we send, our country on a whole sends everything off that's going to landfill to other countries, which then in itself is their idea of trying to take care of it, but it's not. And we have the same with the rubbish collection, I think, in the same areas, sort of the UK, I think, maybe, at least for us then.
I don't know what borough you're in, Tanya, but that sounds great, because we have one every 2 weeks. So we have black sacks every 2 weeks. So 1 week will be black sacks and food waste and cardboard. That's week 1. And then week 2, it will just be food waste and tins and glass.
Yeah.
I don't get that. Why can't we have rubbish every week like that?
What frustrates me with it is that it's just not easy. Like, in that sense, I cannot remember when things go out, because they change things so often. And like we used to
9:30.
Oh, it used to be
like
so
12 after 9,
because we'd know when things sort of due to be collected, but then they changed things and I can't work it out. I love that. I saw that.
I don't
that just
separate my
kind of
laundry. I
stopped
don't
me as
even
well.
do laundry. I forget. Laundry to me, here, look, this is my laundry, okay? So you put it in the washing machine. You forget about it. 3 days later, you think, oh, that's still in the washing machine. So then you have to rewash it. And then, you know, like 2 days later, you realize it's still in the washing machine. So you have to wash it again. Then you take it out of the washing machine because you're really good on that day. And then you hang it up.
And it stays there until you wear it.
And then it stays there for 3 or 4 days, a week, maybe a month before you actually put it away.
Or you just wear it.
Or just wear it. Yeah, that's how you do washing. But you have to sort out from like the great big piles of like 6 laundry baskets, which one's going to have to go in first. Ugh,
yeah,
laundry.
priority.
No, don't do that. Well, I have to do it, but I don't like it. Right. Do you think we should wind this up now? It's been fantastic talking to everybody.
We didn't do much on coping with stresses, what helps, but maybe we'll touch on that next time a little bit.
Maybe we will.
Because we kind of got a bit distracted by the stress factors. Yeah, but they're all stresses in our life, so they're all relevant.
And I think everybody in the chat's been so helpful with all their input as well.
Yeah.
So.
And it's nice in the sense of seeing that everyone sort of has their own sort of experience with their stresses and have that bit of them being able to relate as well. So
we'll just reiterate, if anybody ever wants to talk, I think my Twitter and Instagram are on my bio. Just, you know, send me a message. And I'm always around. Trust me. Right.
Yeah,
thank you so much, everybody. And I'm going to end this broadcast now. You didn't even know I did streams at all on here, so this was neat. Yeah, we used to do them a bit more often, but I just didn't want to do it after
life happened.
I got too old, but I'm young again now, decided. So we will start doing them hopefully weekly. And I will see you all maybe next week. Aimee, if you want to carry on talking, when I end the broadcast, we can still have a chat.
A bit of a catch up.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.